Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Community Starcraft 2. I have a special treat for you guys today. This is going to be a community replay, but look at this. It is ROOTMinigun. He is going to be spawning here on the left side of the Shattered Temple. He is going to be fighting OpTicalRH, who is the blue Terran here on the bottom side of the Shattered Temple. And I got this replay from a thread that I posted on battle.net just asking for random replays, and one of the members there posted this one who was a member of that forum. So this is really cool to see ROOTMinigun in a game that I'm casting on my channel while still following my own little rules of casting community games. For those of you that don't know, ROOTMinigun is one of the better North American Protoss players that you will find. Both of these guys are in Grandmasters, so I expect an outstanding game from these two. But ROOTMinigun is on a team with such players like KiwiKaki and guys like Cats and Slush and Destiny, who are all very popular StarCraft 2 players. Minigun is more so known recently for his streams that are getting really popular and for his builds that are basically anti-Zerg, but he is fighting a Terran in this game, and we'll see how this goes. Now, obviously, OpTicalRH is no slouch either. He is in the Grandmasters, and I expect this to be a very challenging match between these two. We'll go ahead and pull up the production tab and see what both these players are doing. Both of them on very standard stuff. Minigun throwing down his gas on 15, and Optical throwing his down probably on 13 or so, and getting a wall off here at the front door, which usually signifies that he's going to be going for some sort of tech, or at this level of play you will see some like strange mind games going on between these two, so he might just want to get him thrown off of his build just a little bit. Minigun's going to come up here with his scout and see what's going on. Now, just to inform you a little bit more about how Community StarCraft works, for those of you that are not informed, Community StarCraft 2 basically just casts replays of members of the forums and around the internet from just everyday players, and everyday players can range from anywhere from like bronze up to grandmaster, which is what we see today. Now, Optical, I don't know if he just has his probe. Yeah, he's just scouting around. I was just saying, I was wondering if he was going to go for anything sneaky up here, but he just has not scouted Minigun's base yet. Minigun has a strange rally on his probe, sending him up here probably to drop a pylon up near his front door. A lot of these pro players and super high grandmaster players will do some strange rallies on their Nexus just because they know their exact build orders and they know exactly what they need to do with each probe. So pretty cool stuff to see there. We do see a factory now dropping for Optical, so this is indicated, or rather indicating some sort of tech play. And on these close air positions, it would be hard to resist going with something like Banshees to try to take advantage of the short flight distance between the two. Optical does get in there and see what's going on in the Protoss space, but he sees 2 gas, 1 gateway, and 1 cybernetics core. It's about as standard as you're going to see, so essentially all he found out is where his opponent is, and possibly some very subtle things about his timings. Minigun's going to be throwing down a 2nd gateway, and it looks like this probe is getting ready to drop something else. We'll see what he comes up with. Now that the factory is done, we see a starport started, and a bunker up here at the front door. So we're going to see if Minigun does that typical Protoss versus Terran standard scouting to see what's up at the front door. If he sees a bunker, it obviously means that there's some sort of tech going on behind it, just because this is all he's fielded by now. By 5:20 is just these 3 Marines, and if the Protoss goes for some really powerful push, he's going to need this bunker in order to hold it off. Now, one smart thing that Optical does is he builds a tech lab on his factory and then lifts it off so that he can swap his starport onto that tech lab and get stuff out as soon as possible. Here's this typical scout you're going to see from Minigun, looking up here, seeing what's going on, and yeah, he's going to see the bunker and he's going to know something is definitely up, so we'll see how he responds to that. That probe wound up dropping a 3rd gateway, so Minigun is now on 3 gates, and wow, this is a little bit unusual. There's a Raven coming out first for Optical. There's a 2nd starport going down, so we may see some sort of like a Pult timing push with a Raven, some Banshees, some Marines, and a couple of tanks, which is so hard to hold off as Protoss with only gateway units because of that point defense drone on the Raven. will absorb a whole bunch of stalker shots and make it really difficult to try to get damage on those Banshees before your whole army's dead, considering he has very good DPS units and Marines. I don't know if he's going to supplement this with tanks, but that's just a possibility. Again, I'm just theorizing here. I have not seen this replay. There is a Banshee coming out, so it is kind of supporting what I was talking about there. And Minigun is actually throwing down his Nexus here at his natural. So Minigun, I don't know how he's going to respond to this, but he probably sees stuff like this regularly, so we'll see if he gets an observer chronoed out and into Optical's base in order to see what's going on. This is a cool trick here from Optical, is sending his factory out. Typically when you see a floating factory, that's going to almost always mean that they're going for bio and that they're putting out just nothing but medevacs on their starports. So more mind games going on here from Optical, and obviously Optical is going to be getting vision over here of Minigun's base. So this is a really cool play. I really like that, and I love the kind of mind games you're going to see in these higher level replays, just kind of faking each other out. And Minigun started a warp prison there and then canceled it, so I wonder if that was just a mistake or if he just decided against it just in case the factory might have seen it or something. I don't know, but he does opt to go for an observer and a second observer. He's going to see all these units moving out. There are 2 Banshees, a bunch of Marines, a Raven, and Minigun does have an okay force on the field to stop this, but those Banshees are going to be really hard to fight if he gets his point defense drones down. So you can see how annoying this is. This Banshee, you can see he's getting shot by all these stalkers but loses almost no health. Point defense drone still has plenty of shots to block. Minigun warping in more stalkers here. He does force field the ramp, really nice force field, and he pulls his probes. This is excellent response to this to make this point defense drone a lot less important here. He needs to be careful and not lose his Nexus though. He should have the forces in order to try to engage this if he engages it correctly. But it looks like he's actually going to sack this Nexus. So Minigun is now supply blocked. He's without an expansion and his build is all thrown off. So a very cool play here, and Optical is wisely going to skirt far enough around so that Minigun's units cannot fire as he retreats. So very cool play there. Very nice touch with the factory flying in. It's actually still sitting in Minigun's base, so Minigun needs to take care of that as soon as he can. More Banshees on the field. This is a pretty scary number of Banshees with a point defense drone possibility looming, so Minigun's going to need to really be careful here. Optical is just going to poke in here, focus on this pylon and get what he can, but Minigun does not want to walk into a trap here, so he's being a little bit cautious. There is a Colossus on the field now to deal with those Marines, so you can see Minigun clawing his way back into this even though he just lost his Nexus, and Optical is throwing up a command center behind it. Now, since he did poke in with those Banshees, he did see the Colossus, which prompted him to produce Vikings, which are now on the field, as we can see right here. Banshees coming in for a little bit more, but he does not want to overcommit, so very good harassment here from Optical. He's going to send his Banshees up to this cliff here, in most likelihood, and this is terrible for a Protoss player to be in. If they didn't have any sort of spotting, he obviously does have the Colossus to spot up this cliff, and observers floating around, but he's still just going to bug him a little and then fall back. Checking on the units tab, this composition is getting even more interesting, now adding some Marauders into the mix. More Banshees coming out, and a second Raven is going to be on the field. Stim has started. Minigun is now dropping a Forge, and Optical lands his factory in Minigun's mineral line. So this factory is having a very interesting life. It has not produced anything, but it's got scouting information. It has probably messed with Minigun on some level or another, and now it's just parked right in there to prevent a little bit of mining until he can clear it out. So there's just some really funny tricks coming down here, stuff you don't usually see. There's actually 2 Ravens in production, and Optical's command center has now landed here at his expansion. So it's a very cool build here from this Terran player. Very interesting to see. I'm sure it's hard not to get kind of starstruck when you're playing really super high level, even pro level players when you're just playing on the ladder. So this is a really cool way to throw Minigun off of what he typically sees, since I have never seen a build order that focuses on your factory heading in there, even though you're still going tech, and then gets this interesting unit composition of Viking. 3 Ravens are on the field now. Banshee, Marine, Marauder. There are more Banshees heading in here, and this is a scary number of Banshees, especially for these stalkers. They will need to fall back. I did not believe Cloak has been researched, so he does not have the ability to cloak, which we can see as it's grayed out here, but he does have an observer there wisely just to compensate for that, just in case that happens. This is becoming a rather scary number of Colossus on the field, with a fourth one about to hit the field. That's essentially the magic number where the area of effect is so large that anything underneath that, especially Marines, is just going to, die to it so fast. But with enough Ravens out and with enough Banshees out, he can buy enough time to get those Colossi down without engaging with his bio if he really needs to. Supplies are almost dead even, so this is such a close and interesting game, even though Minigun lost his Nexus. So very nice recovery. More Stalkers are being warped in here in addition with some sentries. Minigun is posturing as if he's going to be ready to push. So you'll have to wonder if Optical has the forces in order to hold this off with that 4 number of Colossus. That's such a huge Colossus number, but the support behind that is just a little bit skimpy. These Banshees are well out of position. Minigun possibly knowing that, since he did see them flash on his vision right over here on the mini-map before he moved out. So Optical is not at his optimum efficiency in terms of the units he has, but these Banshees could sneak in here and pick off a Colossus if Minigun is not paying attention. So he does move the army around in order to get his Banshees back into the right spot that they need to be in to hold off this engagement. There's a proxy pylon down here for Minigun and another proxy pylon down here at the gold so that he can reinforce this attack. It looks like Minigun is really ready to commit to this, but behind it he's also expanding up here at the natural of the top base. Stalker does poke in here to see what he's going to be fighting, and if Minigun likes it, he'll be ready to go. It looks like he does not like the engagement, so he's going to back off just a little bit and get a little bit more reinforcements here warping in, but it kind of looks like he's just ready to fall back. So since you don't see this unit composition very often, it's hard to say if you're capable of taking this down. That's a huge number of Marines. You can see it spans to 2 pages. The Marauders in there are going to be scary. Stim is now done. There are Medivacs on the field, Vikings, 3 Ravens, Banshees, all sorts of stuff coming down here. Basically every unit you can produce out of your barracks and your starport is on the field here, with the exception of higher tech like Ghosts and Battlecruisers. So it's a really cool unit composition on the field right now for Optical. We'll see how it does when these 2 armies finally and inevitably clash. In the meantime, the Twilight Council is done here for Minigun, and 2-point defense drones are ready to go down to prevent these Stalkers from firing. The bio does push in and try to engage us. Minigun has to back off because these Stalkers are not doing anything with these point defense drones on the field. He does get out of range of it, and the Colossus are melting these Marines, as you can see, but there's so many air units out for Optical right now that he is just decimating Minigun's army. Minigun is going to be in a ton of trouble right here. The Ravens are just kind of floating in here and peeking at this Colossus, but all of Minigun's army goes down. He lands the Vikings in order to try to hold off these probes that are trying to come out and win this attack for him. Minigun says good game and leaves the game. So wow, really cool unit composition coming out here from Optical. Again, almost every unit off of his barracks and his starport saw the field, with the exception of Reapers, which are almost never mixed into your army, and Ghosts, which require higher tech, and your battle cruisers. But besides that, we saw everything. And the factory kind of felt left out. Optical sent it in to scout and landed it here just to block off some mining for a couple seconds and do a little bit of mind games, making Minigun possibly think that Optical is opting, no pun intended, for a more biocentric army, which is what you usually see with that factory play. So really cool build there. I hope you guys enjoyed that game. We may see some more pro gamers mixed into our broadcasts, but it was a pleasure to have Minigun on this channel, and it will be a pleasure in the future to see all you Masters and Grandmasters players running into these caliber of players and hopefully posting your replays or sending them to me so I can cast them. If you have your own replays, you can send them to my email address that I have just set up, which is communitysc2@live.com. Live as in I'm casting this live, but I'm really not. .com. So send them over there if you have them, or you can send them to a message in this YouTube account, or you can peruse around for the threads that I will open up about once a week to accept community replays and cast them. So hopefully you look out for those. Send me your replays if you got them. I will cast them. If they're good games such as this one, I will post it, so be on the lookout. And I appreciate you guys watching this. Have a nice night or afternoon or whatever time of day it might be wherever you are in the world. Thank you.